Welcome to BeamNG 0.37, which is probably BeamNG's goofiest update ever. Well, what the f— And if you follow BeamNG on their socials, you probably know why, as they've been posting some pretty weird teasers these past few weeks. And not only is this update extremely devious, it's also quite large, so make sure to watch this video until the end if you don't want to miss anything. And please,
like and subscribe.
Now as usual, keep in mind that all footage is from a pre-release version and that things may be different when the update comes out. So, without further ado, this is the Grand Marshal Limousine. And while it's far from the biggest new addition in this update, it's definitely the longest. Okay, it's not even the longest. But anyways, it's a brand new type of vehicle, and it's very fun. Measuring in at 2.5 Ibishu pigeons, or just under 8.5 meters, for you Americans, that's 113 Big Macs, it's probably not the easiest car to whip around town. But you don't get a limo for your daily commute. You get a limo to haul around corrupt politicians, mob bosses, crackhead celebrities, or for a wedding, I don't know. Anyways, whatever the use case, this Grand Marshal limousine is well equipped to handle it. And that's all thanks to its custom interior, featuring a long bench seat, which appears to be clean, an old television, an even older phone, storage for wine glasses with a cute little BeamNG keychain, and a mini fridge with the fake drinks from the BeamNG universe, as well as the actual mugs you can buy on their merch store. And all of this stuff I mentioned is neatly enclosed in this mini bar looking thing. I bet it smells funny in here. And finally, when it gets dark outside, the vibe is even vibier, thanks to these extremely bougie purple LEDs and these piss yellow dome lights. I have to admit, the devs absolutely nailed the early 2000s blob limo look, both inside and out. The Grand Marshal limousine comes in 5 different configurations: a demolition derby shitbox, a basic fleet spec, whatever the f this is, the V8 Lux, and the presidential. But how does it drive? Like a limo. Jokes aside, the sheer driftability of this oblong vehicular device actually surprised me. So much so that I'll be posting a video of me and the boys trying to race them around Italy's tight hairpins. But not on this channel. Since I have another 2 main channel videos I am currently working on, my slave will be posting it on my second channel, Muye Live, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it. Finally, we need to talk about the Grand Marshal itself. When I found out that we were getting a stretched limousine version of the Grand Marshal, I thought it was going to be part of a vehicle refresh. But it actually wasn't. That being said, the regular Grand Marshal did get updates to its J-beam structure, improving realism, and I could also see it get a small refresh sometime in the future. Though to be honest, it's not begging for one, especially with the new
Limousino Blue.
Now though, it's time for the really juicy stuff. The prop remasters. Let's start with debatably the most iconic of the bunch, the large spinner. And as you can see, it's looking much nicer now. Plus, it also has a couple new tricks up its sleeve, so let me give you a proper walk around. As you can see, it features a completely new visual style, and whereas before it looked very video game-like, with this remaster, it now looks like something that could actually exist in real life. And I'm a very big fan of this, especially since it means that it's now packed with cool little details and Easter eggs. From the markings on the metal boxes to the nuts on the base, and from the cooling fan at the top of the motor to this information plaque on its side. Wait. Amperage depends on the day? What the fuck? Anyways, I think they did a great job with this one. And I also really like the fact that some of the parts, such as the motor, are being shared between the other remastered props. But more on those later, because we still need to check out the large spinners configurations, which go from just 2 in 0.36 up to 17 in 0.37. These include big and small variants, as well as those with 2 or 4 arms. As for attachments, you can equip them with metal boxes, tow hitches, and flails. And finally, there's the fun features, like concrete walls and the trailer of death. And you know what? Just for fun, I'll show you how some of these work. This is the small dual spinner with the tow hitches, and so let's hitch something up, I guess. Now I've just spawned these 2 pigeons and I think they're about to have the time of their lives. I'm gonna pick this one up. Now I think I need to press L. Would you look at that? It's hooked up. And so, both pigeons are hooked up now, and I guess we just let it rip. Holy shit! So next, there's the one with the flails. I'm just gonna whip it. It's kind of struggling. Okay, I think it's stable now. So what I'll do this time is I'll drive into it. Okay, I'm approaching. Hopefully I survive. Next up, there's the large four-armed spinner, where the cubes are filled with water. Here we go. Oh, this is heavy. It's kind of struggling, but it's getting up to speed. I'm gonna run into it. Head-on collision. And finally, there's this thing. The trailer-mounted one. I think I already know what I'm gonna do with this. So subscribe if you don't want to miss it out. Next up, there's the large roller, which looks completely different now. While the spinner was almost identical in terms of dimensions to the older one, the roller has received a complete makeover. In fact, not only is the rolling contraption itself larger, there is also this whole extra section now. That's right, instead of being powered by magic, it now has the 900 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine from the Gavril T-Series. This bad boy then sends the power to these two drive shafts that are directly connected to the rollers. And to operate it, there is now a physical control panel with debatably the cutest Easter egg in BeamNG history. The keychain is a teeny tiny itsy bitsy model of the old roller. Devs, on behalf of the BeamNG community, thank you. Now, operating this machine of pain and suffering is pretty straightforward. First, you turn it on. Then you select either forward or reverse gear. And finally, you apply some throttle with this lever on the left. But what about this other lever on the right? Yup, the large roller is now also height adjustable, thanks to these two humongous hydraulic pistons and this telescoping drive shaft. This means that, on top of crushing things of various dimensions, you can now also use it as a hydraulic press. Finally, after all these years, I get my revenge. The large roller comes in two configurations, one with higher torque and one with higher speed. And just like with the spinner, thanks to its new visual style, it feels like this contraption from hell could actually exist in real life. Next, there's the large hamster wheel. What the f? Now, just like with the other props, the hamster wheel has received a complete visual overhaul. But this time around, I think the devs might have had something to drink. Though outlandish style choices aside, the quality is still insane. From the barrel texture to the curved ramp, and from the nuts and bolts to the electric motor, this one also feels very realistic. Speaking of the electric motor, unlike with the spinner, it doesn't directly send power to the barrel. Instead, it's hooked up to a truck wheel that then spins it. And I have to say, these new 3-phase electric motors pack quite the punch, because after just 90 seconds, it has the 33-ton barrel spinning at 200 kilometers per hour, which I'll now try to enter. Okay, come on, I don't think this is gonna be too hard. Now, this thing is already crazy as is, but it has one more neat little feature. Look at what happens when you press the spacebar. I really hope no one is recording the intro to a video with it. Then there's the large cannon, which now has much more of a steampunk vibe to it. In fact, compared to all the other props, it's the only one where I feel like it couldn't exist in real life. But while I would have preferred it to be more in line with the visual style of all the other props, it still looks so much better than before. And it also works much better too, thanks to its slightly larger size and a ramp that is properly aligned now. And finally, I've kept the best for last. Jokes aside, the metal ramp also looks much better than before. And so, that was it with the prop remasters. But what if I told you that we're still not done with props? That's right, on top of the heavily remastered props, we also get a couple of brand new ones. First up, there's the pressure ball. If it were any other game, this would just be a translucent ball filled with absolutely nothing. But of course, being the BeamNG devs, it's so much more. For starters, you can choose between 3 different ball designs: plain, hamster, and my personal favorite, beam ball. But get this, you can also choose what gas they're filled with. And of course, each one has its correct density. In fact, of the 4 default configurations, 2 are lighter than air. which means they rise to the skies from the moment you spawn them. And if you have nothing better to do in your life, like myself, you can create your own custom configurations for the pressure ball. Just head to the tuning menu, and from there, you can adjust air pressure, size, weight, and color too. But I know what you've been thinking this whole time. Yes, you can spawn vehicles in them. Next up, there's the trampoline. First of all, I want to take a moment to appreciate its quality. From the jiggly physics of the springs to the extremely detailed texture of the mat. Also, these nuts have no business being this detailed, but I'm all for it. Though, does it actually work? Yes, by default, the trampoline comes in 6 different configurations. But again, just like with a ball, you can go ahead and make your own custom ones by adjusting the height, the size, and the springs. Then, there's the bin. It's just a bin. And finally, there's the spike strip. But to be more precise, spike strips, as there's plenty different kinds of them. There's the classic scissor type spike strip, which comes in both manual and remotely deployable configurations. And then there's the BeamNG equivalent of stop sticks, which are the most popular type of spike strip in the United States. But by far, the coolest spike strip is the edger. I'm sorry, but that's what the devs called it. To operate it, you simply open it up, wait for the right moment, and then press this little red button. Or, if your timing is horrible, you can arm the automatic deployment system by flipping the switch, and then simply sit back and let it do its thing. And so, those were the big changes in this update. I think this is the first time we get this many new toys to play with, which is very nice. But what's also very nice are the medium-sized changes in 0.37. And on the topic of spike strips, let's begin with the brand new tire deflation physics. When you run over a spike strip, your tires will now slowly deflate after being punctured. This means that if you have a vehicle equipped with a tire pressure management system, such as the Autobello Stambecco, you can pump air into the tires after running over a spike strip and have it last a lot longer than it would without it. Also, keep in mind that the new tire deflation physics only work when driving over spike strips. If you pop your tires in any other way, including the deflate random tire feature, they will burst immediately. Staying on the topic of wheel-related stuff, disc brakes now glow when they reach high temperatures. And boy, does it look good at night. I still remember when the glowing brake discs mod came out a couple years ago, so it's very nice to finally see this officially implemented. Next up, there's updated engines for the Ibishu Miramar. In the previous update, it got refreshed alongside the Burnside Special, but while the Burnside got its engines updated, the Miramar didn't. Until now. And as you can see, they look great. Another car that got this treatment is the ETK I-Series, and once again, it's looking real good now. Plus, it also got updated materials on its underside, as well as a heavily updated suspension geometry. And with all of these changes, including the ones from previous updates, it kinda feels like the I-Series is slowly getting a refresh. What also got a refresh are PBR materials. In fact, all of the old vehicle materials have now been fully updated to PBR, apart from a couple lights, which I'm guessing will follow in the coming updates. The best example is the Wentworth, which now gets a full PBR interior. And man, was this long overdue. Another good example is the Chery Vivace, which now gets updated light textures. And then there's also the SBR4, which instead had its lights completely remade. Next up, there's the usual updates to the user interface. And this time, there's a big one. The vehicle selector, which has now been completely revamped. So, I know this is a lot to take in, especially if, like me, you've been playing BeamNG for quite a while, but don't worry, as I'll now walk you through all the changes. The most obvious update is the brand new design, with rounded corners and more transparency. And I have to admit, it looks really good. But on top of looking good, it's also much better to use. For starters, it's now split into 3 different sections: cars and trucks, trailers, and props. Then, much like the old version, there's the search and filters section, as well as the vehicle management one. But unlike the old version, there is now a new display options tab, where you can change the display options. You can group vehicles by type, brand, country, config type, derby class, body style, production years, value, and source. On top of grouping vehicles, you also have a plethora of options to sort them. Then there's a slider for expanding configs, as well as one to control the display size. There's now also a section for recently spawned vehicles, as well as your favorites. That's right, you can now add individual configs to your very own favorites list. Simply select the config you want to favorite and click on this star. And finally, there's the usual option to show or hide your custom configurations. Now, just like with the main menu overhaul in the previous update, this may seem kind of annoying at first, especially since you have to relearn where everything is. But after using it for a couple days, I would never go back to the old one. But my favorite update to the user interface has to be this, the brand new minimap. It uses a brand new SDF renderer instead of the old one based on HTML. Whatever that means. All I know is that it completely crushes the old minimap in terms of smoothness, as it now runs at your game's frame rate. And finally, there's a new vehicle bindings app, which now also shows trigger actions when you hover over them. Personally, I don't really like the fact that it's always visible, but it's still definitely an improvement compared to the old one. And on the topic of improvements, it's now time to talk about those small but still meaningful changes. Starting with performance optimizations. There have been rendering optimizations on the CPU side, as well as improvements to RAM usage for collisions. From my testing, this was especially noticeable in Johnson Valley and in West Coast USA, though only when using DirectX 11. Unfortunately, there was an issue with the pre-release build, so I decided to exclude the Vulkan API from my testing. But this should be fixed upon release, and it will probably run even faster, as there is now texture streaming exclusively on the Vulkan API. Then, there are new rock crawling challenges on Utah and Johnson Valley. Simply pull up to them in free roam, press the start button, and a whole course will appear from the ground. And the cool thing is that there is no loading time whatsoever. Talking about missions, there's the usual bunch of new ones featuring some of the newly added content. The cool thing is that if you now go to the Quick Experiences menu and head over to the new Highlights section, you can now find all of the newly added missions and challenges, which is very useful. Something else that's really useful, but unfortunately a bit of an eyesore, are the navigation arrows. But luckily, for those of us who want to rely just on the minimap, you can now disable them in the user interface settings. And finally, since we're running out of buttons on our input devices, the devs have updated the default layout on both Xbox and PlayStation controllers. Plus, they have now added support for modifier keys, which lets you create multiple layers on the same controller. And yes, if you had a custom button layout like myself, it's now completely fine.